Hello there. My name is Melvin Mai, and I'm here to talk about why sleep is important and why middle schools and high schools need to start their classes later. Many students feel tired and drowsy during and after school, but still tend to sleep at around the same time despite how exhausted they are. The average public high school start time in America is 7:59, but many other schools start before 7:30 a.m. according to the National Center of Education Statistics. The American Academy of Pediatrics states that middle and high schools should start at 8:30 a.m. or later to match the circadian rhythm of teenagers. Puberty tends to shift the sleep-wake cycles up to 2 hours later, making natural sleep times 11 p.m. rather than the old 8 to 9 p.m. By starting at 8:30 a.m. or later, teenagers can achieve a longer sleep period. A study of 9,000 students showed a quarter-step increase in grades because of a later start time, for example, a B to a B+. Sleep is also essential to the students' mental health, physical health, and their academic performance. These benefits are critical, but let's talk a little history before we get into the details. So why does school start so early for our teenagers? Well, 100 years ago, school started around the time of 9 a.m. But recently in the 1970s and 1980s, many schools shifted to earlier hours. The reason for the shift was because of the appealing thought of using the fewest amount of bus cycles possible. The importance of sleep and circadian rhythm of teenagers were not well understood. Just by sleeping earlier doesn't really make a difference since the circadian rhythm still functions at its own will. Science evidence has stacked up, but teenagers are still waking up too early. Sleep, not just for students, sleep is a life essential to everyone's health and well-being throughout a lifetime. The right amount of sleep at the right time benefits your physical health, mental health, and quality of life. Sleep loss also affects how well you learn, think, react, work, and respond socially. So for example, since you're sleep deprived and your reaction times are very slow, this could cause an instant damage to one's life, such as a vehicle accident. So here's a graph from the sleepfoundation.org that shows the recommended sleep needed for each group in dark blue. The light blue shows the maybe possible sleep range because there's always a margin of error, and the orange, light and dark, are definitely not recommended hours. So if we look at the teenager group, it shows that there is an 8 to 10 hour sleep period that is recommended. If our students are not achieving this 8 to 10 hours of sleep, then they're going to be having problems. One of the problems is called sleep debt. This is an accumulation of not getting enough sleep each day, and it eventually stacks up, causing health issues. And the only healthy way to pay off sleep debt is to have a consistent, healthy sleep routine. So we talked about getting the right amount of sleep, 8 to 10 hours for teenagers specifically. But why? Well, a person can achieve a healthy amount of NREM, non-rapid eye movement, and REM, rapid eye movement sleep stages. If you look at this graph from the National Institute of Health, it shows the stages of NREM and REM in a healthy young adult. NREM is important because it allows the body to repair and regrow tissues, build bone and muscle, and strengthen the immune system according to WebMD. The reason we have REM is because it stimulates parts of the brain associated with learning. An infant's sleep cycle is typically 50% REM compared to the adult with 20% REM. This shows why REM is so important because it's the learning stage of our sleep. By not acquiring enough sleep, a person can cut off many stages of NREM and REM, resulting in poor health and neurological performance. If you look at this graph, if a person is only getting 6 hours of sleep, they're cutting off 2 periods of REM. And this might result in poor learning abilities for the next day or poor retention of what they learned on that previous day. A quote from Fisher Batsborough from Cambridge University states that two main, though not mutually exclusive, hypotheses that have been predominant in interpreting sleep: 1. Sleep is restorative for brain metabolism, and 2. Sleep serves memory consolidation and the learning process. So this is why sleep is so important, because it is a factor in our academic performance and our ability to learn in class. Parents and students often argue with school administrators about whether high schools start too early or not. Scientific evidence have been piling up in the recent years, and all have led to the same conclusion. Later start times improve teen learning, and the later the start, the better. There is a common misconception where many think that just by adjusting when we go to bed and wake up to a schedule can change our biological clocks to match our morning schedules. From the National Institute of Health, the biological clock that times and controls a person's sleep and wake cycle will attempt to function according to a normal day-night schedule even when the person tries to change it. So the big idea is to help students get more sleep and the benefits that come along with it. The research is clear that adolescents who get enough sleep have a reduced risk of being overweight or suffering depression, are less likely to be involved in automobile accidents, and have better grades, higher standardized test scores, and an overall better quality of life. Studies have shown that delaying early school start times is one key factor that can help adolescents get the sleep they need to grow and learn. From American Academy of Pediatrics. Well, another question might come to your mind. How many students is this really affecting? So 59% of students in middle school and 87% of students in high school are not getting the recommended 8.5 to 9.5 hours of sleep. Consuming caffeine can counteract sleepiness, but is not sufficient enough to restore optimal alertness and is not a substitute for missing sleep. Also, scheduling of later times to start school has shown better attendance rates and declines in tardiness according to Yale University. Also from Yale, later school start times reduce students falling asleep in class and students struggling to stay awake in class. Microsleep, a common problem where students go unconscious or parts of the brain go to sleep. Microsleep is caused by sleep deprivation and often occurs without warning. Symptoms are blank stare, slow blinking, a sudden jerk of the body, dropping the head and jerking it back up, nodding off, and not being able to recall the last minute. The scariest thing is that microsleep can even occur when the person's eyes are wide open. Students will always learn better when they are awake and not missing school. A study from the University of Pennsylvania State shows that students with 8.5 hours of sleep had the highest GPA, according to this graph. Also, they suggest that going to bed at your natural time is better than staying up studying. Other studies have shown that moving start times to a later 8:30 a.m. increase math and reading test scores by over 1%. The older the student, the greater the increase of percentage points, over 3% as 14 years old. These stats might be insignificant, but can be extremely important to a student. A 3% increase could mean a difference between a B and an A. These small changes mean the difference in future college opportunities, scholarships, and even jobs. Starting school later sounds like a simple task, but why are schools hesitating to change? First of all, most districts and school administrations are ignoring the major advantages and benefits of starting school later. They believe that by changing the start times, bus schedules, after-school sports and activities, less time to access public resources, increase in family stress and resistance of students will be problems. School districts usually bus high school students first and then elementary students second. By changing the start times to a later time, bus efficiency would be reduced. This is not true. Bus times could just be swapped where elementary students are bus first and then high school students. Since parents have to drop off their young children first, they can also get off of work earlier, making it so that there is no need for childcare. After-school sports are believed to be affected, but this is not true because practices can be rescheduled and lights can be installed, allowing play in darker environments. Practices at later times can also help students avoid extremely hot environments. Plus, a person will be more coordinated and have more stamina if well rested. We also have to remember that the school's first priority is to provide a better learning environment, not athletics. It seems that students will have reduced times to access public resources such as libraries, but this is not true because later start times have improved student concentration and ability to work efficiently. So that means work can be done faster, needing a shorter period of time to work. Finally, some students will resist change because they worry about the consequences of this time change. This is why it's important to inform them about the benefits of a later start time. Math class can talk about the stats, while science class can talk about the biological benefits. Health class isn't obvious, and psychology class can discuss later school start times and depression. Parents can also help by regulating electronic device usage at night to help students sleep better. Our physical health comes from sleep, our mental health comes from sleep, our academic performance comes from sleep, our lives comes from sleep. So why are schools cutting our sleep times? Well, they just don't understand the benefits of sleep. We need to push start times to 8:30 a.m. or later. The advantages are substantial. Better grades, better and safer driving for teens, better learning environments, better health, and better quality of life. There's just too much scientific evidence, and school administrators need to stop sticking with the past and change for a better future. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.